I'm a nerd.
Nerds.
Nerds.
Nerds!
I'm not kissing a nerd.
What is a nerd?
Nerd! Holy crap, are we nerdy?
Welcome to Nerdables episode 101. This week we discuss the shakeup at Marvel Entertainment, a major Marvel actor's future with the company, the video game Pyramid Scheme, Star Wars Battlefront Beta, CBS lifting the dome and other TV news, major Star Wars event turning into a disaster, and the loss of a horror icon. Joining me this week are Rich, Ethan, Mike, and Sebastian. Gentlemen, hello.
Hello, good to be back.
Hello.
Hey.
We all have a good day today.
Yeah, it was a pretty good day.
Recording on Saturday because we're dorks. We don't have anything to do.
Football was on.
We're not out. Oh, yeah.
College football. First week.
No one who's listening to this knows anything about it.
Tossing the good old.
There's people
hand
listening?
egg.
That's right. You know, we have nobody
USC's getting ready to start right now.
I was gonna say I thought they played.
They're
Oh,
playing.
no,
They're
UCLA
playing
plays
the
for it.
late game.
I love that first weekend because it's all teams. You know, it's like Alabama playing a high school from Florida.
This is why if they would get rid of that first 2 weeks and actually put them into the conference play and added 2 more games to the playoffs, it would be better because then you get those stupid games out of the way.
What would be better is at the end of the season, after you get your recruiting class, they pick like a top 50, and those teams have to play each other all season, no matter what.
Yeah.
You play your conference, and you have to play. If you're in a top 50, you have to play a top 50 school. No one's ever going to go for it. But yeah, this cream puff crap is terrible. The TCU game yesterday, early on, it was like they're in trouble. They were down like 10-0 early. It was like, oh, that's the thing. Like if you lose one of these games early to one of these schools, you're toast. You just have no way.
There's a couple of them. So, anyways,
welcome
nerds.
Welcome to
Yeah,
ESPN
you
Radio.
sound like a bunch of nerds.
Yeah, you sound like a bunch
God,
of
you guys sound like nerds talking about football.
It's weird. Maybe it'll get to that point where sports nerds are like the ostracized group.
The job
Everyone's
becomes.
like, can't you guys talk about like Marvel and Star Wars instead of sports? What are you, stupid?
All those statistics.
I think it's already
brain.
getting there.
Well, I mean, it's what he was talking about was statistics. So many nerds took over
Yeah.
sports as well, thanks to fantasy.
When Dave and Buster's and what is it, whatever the Buffalo Wings, Buffalo Wild Wings, they start showing
Buffalo Wild Wings.
they start showing Marvel movies and whatnot instead of the sports.
I'm actually kind of surprised more sports places don't have like regular channels on smaller TVs around for like
Families
kids and stuff like that. But
they wouldn't be called sports bars or
no,
sports
the
restaurants.
majority of it and all the big places would be sports. But you know, you'd go with Beth and Arabella, and they'd have something else to at least kind of keep their attention.
Hey, the kids on like Disney Channel shows
Steven
plays
Universe.
sports, right?
They do. It's called an iPhone. That's what keeps their attention when you're at a place like that.
Yeah. Getting back to nerd news, we'll start off with the recent reshuffling of Marvel films. On Monday, we learned that longtime Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige. Did we figure that out? Is it Feige or Feige?
I always thought it was Feig.
And I was listening to an interview with Chris Hardwick when he was doing a Nerdist episode with Kevin. And he called him Feige or Feige.
Feige?
Feige.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're the only one that's actually heard it.
So
okay,
Kevin, it's like
and he was on there and he didn't correct him.
Okay, so
it's
we'll
like
go with Feige.
I've been to the Comic-Con panels and Mark Miller is there, but so many people say Millar because it's AR.
Right.
So Feige. Okay. Anyway, we learned a couple days ago Kevin Feige is now directly reporting to Disney studio chief Alan Horn, as opposed to Marvel Entertainment CEO Isaac Ike Perlmutter. Sources reported that Feige, geez, that's going to throw me up the whole time. Feige, has been complaining to both Horn and Disney CEO Bob Iger about Perlmutter's infamous penny pinching and micromanaging. The move also helps integrate Marvel films with Disney's other film studios, Pixar and Lucasfilm, out here on the West Coast. Perlmutter has reportedly accepted the move, not that he would have much choice, as Feige has overseen Marvel's rise to a studio powerhouse, grossing over $7 billion in films in just less than a decade. Feige joins the likes of John Lasseter and Kathleen Kennedy as the head of their own division within the Disney empire. Also point out that Jeff Loeb and Marvel TV Animation still report to Perlmutter, who is remaining in New York. It means the animation and the Netflix stuff is still his.
Yeah, and then that stuff is run out here, but it looks like they're just the home base for that is all in New York. While
It's
they
still
all
at
work out
Marvel
here.
in New York, yeah.
Yeah, and everybody else like Marvel Animation, that's all down here. So
yeah, it looks like all the production stuff is out here, but the final person was there, and that's part of the reason of changing it is to get to get him under horn of being able to kind of be in control all on the
Sounds
West Coast
sad,
here.
just lone man at a desk somewhere in an office by himself now.
Well, see, I've heard he's been really hard to deal with, anyways.
Yeah, rumors about regarding what prompts that change, and a lot of it is that most reporting disappointments of this summer's Age of Ultron box office, which was under the first Avengers box office, and the behind-the-scenes turmoil all year regarding the Ant-Man film. But recently, it looked like the most likely cause is the budget of the upcoming Captain America: Civil War, which, as Rich points out a lot, it looks like an Avengers 2.5 film. Almost every character connected to the previous movie slate to appear, except something like Hulk and Thor.
In Hulk, they actually did film something, but they cut it out because they decided they didn't want to give away Hulk's disappearance until later.
Yeah. There's also new characters like Black Panther and, of course, Spider-Man. Apparently, Spider-Man's addition to it run up the budget as well. That budget completely ballooned, and Feige vocally complained to PreOrdered about his frugality and his complaints about overproduction costs.
It was Aunt May that caused it.
Yeah,
she put everybody over the top.
It's also pointed out that this shakeup also reduced the influence of the Marvel Creative Committee, which is it's reformed in the early 2000s. It's actually before all the Marvel films came out. It was before Iron Man came out. The committee, no one really knows how much influence they've had, but they've had enough that they've become a source of contention.
Yeah, and that was
wasn't that part of the
and
Bendis, and there's a couple other people. Joe Quesada's a
Quesada.
part of it, but there's also a couple of like people that aren't connected to Marvel Publishing.
Yes,
that are in it as well.
And that's where usually the committee is. Well, they'll bring in a writer or two from the comic series, whatever film that they're doing, and then they'll all discuss it and try to keep it into the timeline and into the the linear.
At first, they said that the committee could disband it completely, but it looked like it's still together. It still has an influence on the TV and animation output, but their role in live-action film will be greatly reduced. It's interesting to note, as I was researching the story, is a lot of rumors is that the committee is the one that drove Edgar Wright out.
Well, yeah, because they were the ones who were saying
that
it needed to fit more into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and Wright said, "No, I don't want that. I want it to be."
Well, the funny thing is there's more than one person that has said that they reading the original script, it was the most Marvel of any Marvel film in terms of what it had that feel of early Marvel comics, that those early Spider-Man.
But it wasn't so much that it didn't feel like Marvel.
No, it wasn't. It didn't feel like a Marvel film,
right? But it didn't also fit into the cinematic universe. It was on an island by itself.
So interesting. We'll see what these changes. I mean,
well, it should also
like
be
the changes
noted.
will start in Civil War, but we'll see what they do.
Feige has been around since the earliest Marvel film being made of like X-Men. He was an associate producer on X-Men and moved his way up throughout the time. And then when there was the split between from Marvel Properties to Marvel Studios, that's when they said, "Look, you've been here. You know what you're doing. Come on board and be our our
Well,
head."
I think he's also someone that even a semi-casual fan who's reading like Entertainment Weekly or Variety or whatever would recognize his name, where probably nobody else that I mentioned in that entire article you notice. Like, I know PreOrdered's name because he was one of the ones who rescued Disney or Marvel Publishing out of bankruptcy,
right?
Along with some other people.
Well, everybody knows Kathleen Kennedy now and John.
Yeah,
Lasseter.
no, but I just mean in terms of this specific group.
Oh,
If you're talking about Alan Horn and Ike Perlmutter and Kevin Feige, the only person that I think even the layman might even recognize is Kevin Feige, because he's always the one that other media outlets.
And
go
you're also
to.
seeing him on all the DVD extras and stuff.
Yeah,
like
he
that.
does a lot of the.
He's the face.
We'll stick with Marvel. Captain America star Chris Evans told Collider this week that he is perfectly willing to play the Star-Spangled Hero for a while longer. His quote, "Listen, if Marvel wants me, they got me. I've never had such a relationship where you have such... I mean, look at my resume. I'm used to being on set being like, is this movie going to be terrible? Marvel just can't stop making great movies. They do it in their sleep. It's wonderful directors and producers and actors and scripts, and it's like a playground as an actor," end quote. Evans is one of the actors who's been a little more vocal about his future after his contract is up, wanting to direct more. But even with that, last week he told Entertainment Weekly that it's, quote, "almost terrifying to think about these being done," end quote, in regards to his time with Marvel. So it looks like Evans may stay around longer.
Well, and this should be we should note that this is after the Infinity Wars films, the next two Avengers films. His contract was originally up after the second Avengers Infinity War.
See, when I was doing research for this, I read that his contract's actually up after the first one.
Well, from what I just saw online,
it depends
a
on
little bit ago,
what they decide to do with it. But yeah, I've seen two different reports, but one of them says that his contract's actually that the first Infinity War film would complete his contract.
Right.
So I don't know.
dead.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm
do you
gonna
think?
have to change my idea?
Well, I think somebody brought a dump truck of money to his house and said, "All this
Yeah.
could be yours."
Well, I think they're also
it's kind of like
because
Robert
the-
Downey.
If the price is right.
Well, the other thing we've been talking about is if Marvel decides to treat, they can get away in a sense of treating it as one film because the production is one continuous piece. It's not done as we're going to wrap, we're going to break for 4 months, and then we're going to come back.
And that may
They
be
just gonna
where
keep going.
the confusion is,
Right.
that because when they first said that the Infinity War, he was on for at least 3 Avengers movie. Infinity War at that time was one film. Then they went back and said, no, we're going to make it 2 films. So that way, that contract that they signed for that one film, they had to go back with these guys and say, okay, now that we're making it 2 films, we got to renegotiate the contract as if it was a second film.
And to bring it all full circle, a lot of people are saying that was part of the friction between Perlmutter and Feige, who wanted to change the contracts because their contractual obligations were very strict of, if you're in a film for this much, that fulfills part of that contract. If you're in a film for this much, it isn't. We don't have to pay you this for this. You don't have to pay for that for that. Like Chris Evans' cameo in Dark World wouldn't have counted upon his thing because he was there for like less than 30 seconds. But if you're there for 31 seconds of screen time, it counts and stuff like that. It's just those little pieces rather than trying to give themselves
And then
some leeway.
their cameos in Ant-Man don't count because that actually was footage that was shot for Captain America.
Yeah, so it kind of sounds like Feige's trying much more to give both sides some more wiggle room.
Yeah.
He seems to be someone who the people that are working on these films are more in tune with than they would be with.
Well, you've seen, I think we've even covered it on here before, is that Downey Jr. said that he wouldn't oppose to being in the standalone Spider-Man movie or make an appearance in it. So even though his contract is up with Infinity War as well, that he's still wanting to do other stuff.
Yeah,
and it may be that they don't do another Iron Man movie, but he does small cameos.
Yeah, we've kind of talked about that too. If we get to the end of this Infinity War and let's say Tony Stark dies and Captain America gives up the shield, it doesn't mean he's not going to be in Captain America 4 or whatever it's going to be.
Right.
Starring, Winter Soldier with a thing. It can be he can show up in
Winter Soldier with the thing.
Yeah, the shield.
With the thing and the
thing that he
stuff
throws
and the Jello pudding.
Let's not do that.
What? I'm just talking about Jello pudding.
He's signed on to be Avengers 5 villain.
He is the villain.
He's the rapist.
I'm gonna be the greatest villain.
No,
you've
he's
ever seen in your
the
lives.
new spokesperson for Subway.
Quaaludes.
No, that's
Come to get your $5 foot long with some Quaaludes, and if you have the girly parts, I'm gonna come and see you.
Bill Cosby and Jared get together, and they're a dynamic duo of hate or rape.
Hate. It's all about love. I was trying to love people.
Maybe if Bill Cosby would have taught Jared to knock him out, then no one would come.
Jared's downfall.
This went really dark, like really.
We're
fast.
waiting on you to move to the next topic. And
Jared just needed to learn how to shut his mouth. Because that's what got him in this trouble.
Jared need to figure out how to get rid of his.
Yeah, get rid of the computer too.
He was talking to a lot of people.
Well,
about
apparently,
what he was doing.
yeah. I mean, whatever he was doing, he was on with a promoter that got busted by the FBI, and then since
Why are we discussing?
I don't know.
Why
I
not?
thought I was back for discussing sports in the morning. In the beginning of the show.
This is Nerdables, where we
This
talk
is
about
Nerdables.
everything.
We just talked about everything.
Sports and trying to rape little children.
And criminals.
And criminals.
So speaking about criminals,
Speaking of criminals, switch over to the world of video games.
Yeah.
And the recent trend of pyramid scheming, rewards for new games. Hey, I wrote that right in there. And I'm going to be honest, I tried to do, as I'm setting the script up today, I tried to do the research for this. I had no idea what the hell's going on. And
I
it was
like
really
that you
long.
wrote that right.
No,
in
I wrote
there.
it in here. Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I didn't really understand when I started to do research for it. I am going to turn this over to Sebastian, who's way smarter than me. He's going to explain it all, and now he's going to drop some knowledge.
So the breakdown is that they're doing essentially like Kickstarter tiers for pre-order. So that's the basics of it. So Deus Ex: Mankind Divided is coming out, and if you're in the know for video games, this is probably not news to you, and you either got really upset or you didn't because you have a pre-order and you want to defend that pre-order. But for those about you who are sort of interested or sort of just heard it off to the side, so they've got this scheme called Augment Your Pre-Order. Now, you can buy the game at different retail outlets and get exclusive items, like Best Buy or GameStop. But on top of that, they're doing tiered rewards for the pre-orders based on the total global pre-order sales. So when you hit certain thresholds with the pre-order numbers, a new tier unlocks. Like the first tier has 3 different in-game upgrades. The second tier is a new mission. Third tier, I believe, is audio samples from the game, like music samples. And it keeps going up. The 5th tier is playing the game 4 days before everybody else.
Yes.
And with that, as the tier is unlocked, they're sort of playing it off as like, oh, you're gonna, as these unlock, you're gonna get all these cool extras. But in reality, you only get to pick one item from each tier to get. So you're not getting the complete game. And the big hullabaloo in gaming, especially the antagonism towards pre-orders, is that you're basically prepaying for a game on the basis of the game being good or bug-free, but then you're not really getting a complete game. A lot of things have been happening, like with Arkham Knight, the game did not work on PC at all, and that was a game that had 10 different level of pre-orders. If you got the PlayStation version, you got this special Scarecrow map, and if you got the Xbox version, you got like a Red Hood thing, and
there were some of them that they were saying that the Harley Quinn is the exclusive here, and then ended up Harley was on all of them.
But to get everything, it's something on the order of like there are 10 different versions of Arkham Knight, and if you were somebody who pre-ordered for PC or pre-ordered in multiple places for PC, you got a couple minutes into that game and it didn't work.
Right.
And Steam is really the only company that does digital refunds. So that's sort of the big deal, and the problems, mostly it creates an anti-consumer market for video games. The idea that, one, you're not going to be getting your reviews in time. You're paying $60+ for a game that you don't know is even good. And there have been controversies with reviews, and I'm not talking about games journalism, wink wink. I'm talking about these people, if you're a reviewer, you're getting your game, but you're getting a very controlled version of the game. You're either going out and playing a specific level for a review, or if they're sending out copies, that are being played in specific environments. Like Halo the Master Chief Collection, the multiplayer worked perfectly in the review copies. But then when it got released in the mass markets, their servers did not work, and it was all hell.
But some of that, like when you get to things like that where the multiplayer didn't work or things like that, that's because for one, their servers can only handle so much.
Well, it didn't have anything to do with server issues. It had to do with once all those people logged on,
getting it bogged down.
Well, it wasn't server bogging down. It was just the game was not programmed properly to handle certain users on certain pings in different parts of the world. It was pretty crazy.
I fight for the users.
Yes, exactly. It's like, we do not pre-order. Don't pre-order your games, kids. That's the big lesson. But the bigger thing is, like with for example, not just the Master Chief Collection, but with Arkham Origins, the game was incredibly buggy, but reviewers got special copies of the games. When you get different things like Aliens Colonial Marines, where the review copies and the marketing videos that they showed were of levels in the game and scenarios that were made specifically for marketing and not even included in the game.
Well, but that's happened for generations of systems now. I mean, we've seen that E3.
Yes, but the idea that you're basically getting your money ahead of time for a game that doesn't exist.
Well, see, pre-orders have been going on for years.
Yeah,
I mean, when we were working at Game Crazy, we were doing pre-orders, $5 down, you're guaranteed a copy.
Right, but that's in a time where...
That's a difference for $5 down for guaranteeing a copy versus purchasing the entire game before it comes out, not even knowing what's wrong with it.
That's a problem with it where you've got to do it.
This is also the digital era.
It's an accelerating problem. Yeah.
Even like GameStop and things like that, you can still put $5 down or how much you want to put down towards the game, like I did for Battlefront to get the exclusive, the Battle for Jakku, for Jakku, and then the exclusive, the Ultimate Edition. But you only had to put $5 down. When you do the ordering online, a lot of times you have to pay the entire amount.
Yes, but it's also, you have to remember, this is the digital age. Most people aren't. A lot of people are moving away from physical discs, and even regardless of that, there is no return policy unless you order from Steam. Steam's policy is if you play the game and you are under the 2-hour threshold, you can get your money back for your game. No questions asked. But if you're ordering a copy of Battlefront from GameStop and you get your download code or your disc, and that game doesn't work because they programmed a crappy game, you're not getting your money back.
Yeah, but
And you have to wait till they either fix it or do nothing. And most of the time, they don't do anything.
a lot of the time,
I mean,
especially
Arkham Knight is still not on Steam for purchase on PC.
But still, a lot of the time, when whoever the retail store is has no control over whether the game is going to be glitchy or not when the
Right.
game comes out. And most of the exclusives that they're giving you is DLC content that's going to be available on whatever platform you're getting at some point later down the road.
Not-
But the
Everything,
point of
though.
this is specifically with this game is it's basically a Kickstarter campaign.
The tier thing.
Well, yeah, it's
Yes.
a Kickstarter campaign for that sort of thing. The problem that I have with all of this, and the same thing, is this is a fandom that doesn't consumer correct itself.
Yes.
Because when you put out, you're continually putting out crappy products. You're continually putting out products that are habitually late. You're continuing to put out products in which, if you wish to complete everything, you have to own 3 systems and you have to buy 3 physical games. Enough people are doing it that it keeps happening. Because,
see, that's not-
because as a group, video game consumers aren't correcting themselves. This isn't like if you put out a crappy T-shirt and you continually put it out, people just stop buying it, and then you have to change it. This type of fandom continues to accept and even encourage terrible
business
products
practices.
by continuing to purchase. This is movies.
yes.
Keep
Yeah,
going
but-
to crappy
and
movies.
it's not- we're
You
not-
buy
yeah.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, you're telling everybody, I will buy crappy movies.
Correct. I get
but,
that.
But again, it's not the finger pointing isn't at GameStop or Best Buy. The finger pointing is at
It's at the
AAA,
publishers.
It's at the publishers and the developers because you're creating. Yes, you used to need a pre-order to get a copy of the game because they may sell out.
Right.
Now you're.
That's how retailers guaranteed that there were going to be enough
Yeah,
copies
yeah, but in the-
for the people that wanted it.
But in the digital age, you don't need that. And I mean, take for example, Mortal Kombat X, which just came out, had a character, in fact, had Goro, who came preloaded into the game, and you were basically downloading, a kilobytes worth of code that you paid $10 for to allow access to him. And there's
Right.
a reason why.
But see, that's the other problem.
But there's a reason why they say, the pirated copy is the best copy of the game because the pirated copy has everything.
Part of the thing is with exclusives, whether you go to GameStop, Best Buy, or whoever, and they're saying, okay, if you come to our store, we're going to give you the the Red Hood missions, or you come to ours, you get the Nightwing missions. That is all. Those are separate missions. That's not the actual story of the game.
Doesn't matter.
Those are side
but it's
little.
part of
Right, no,
It's-
I understand it, but
Yeah, I get that.
you have a group of fandom that is a completist fandom. This is just like how
But you can get that on whatever platform you buy it in, because
Right,
they will
but
eventually.
you have to buy the game from 2 different companies.
No. You don't. You buy the game from one company for one system. Then whatever. Once you get on that system's marketplace, well, let's say for the Xbox,
But you're willing
you get
to
on
pay
Xbox
$60
Live.
essentially for an incomplete game.
No, because those aren't you're getting
No,
a complete
because the
game.
code is
Those
already
are
made.
those are bonus missions, bonus levels that you don't have to have in order to play a full game. You play as Batman. The game is Batman.
Okay, hold on. By definition, you do not have a full game.
You do have a full
No,
game.
you do not.
Those are bonus.
No.
Those aren't.
Hold on. By definition, you do not have a full game. Content exists for your game that you have no access to. Unless you pay more money, you do not have a complete game. This isn't unlocking a character within the gameplay.
And this
if
isn't
the
even
game,
a-
if the gameplay is, if you want to face the special level with Scarecrow, you have to beat Two-Face without kicking him.
Yes.
That's something different than if you want the Scarecrow, you're going to have to either purchase the game from a different store in addition to the store you purchased from, or wait 4 months and purchase it again. You don't have a complete game.
Right, because we're not talking.
Again, by what you're saying, yes, the basic game, sure, but you do not have access to the complete game as they've built it to be a complete game.
That's not
Everything-
true. That's not true
No,
because
it-
they have it as a complete game. The game
So
is
when-
Batman Arkham Knight, Batman Arkham
Yes,
Origins.
and
but
the necessary Batgirl story.
no, it's not necessary.
That gives backstory on the Joker that completed the first story. in
It
the
gives
first
you
game.
additional stuff. It's like
The
it's
Red
like
Hood, the Harley Quinn, and the Scarecrow stuff. Are
it's like
all-
okay. Here's a good
Well,
example.
Hold on,
Wait,
You guys are arguing semantics, and you're wrong because it's not a full game, and you don't have access to it immediately.
here's the thing. Do you remember when Nintendo 64 released Star Wars Shadows of the Empire?
Yes,
Okay, that was a complete game. Yes.
right.
But if you wanted to know more about Shadows of the Empire, You had to read the novel. You
That's
had to read the
that's
comic
no, but
books.
that's a
It's the
completely-
same
No, it isn't.
thing.
You're
How?
playing.
because
You can't stuff the comic book into the fucking game system.
Right.
But the Red Hood or the Nightwing or the Harley
Is
Quinn.
it a part of the game?
No,
Yes.
it's not.
Yes,
it's
it
not
is.
a part.
Playable? If you have to pick up a
It is
controller,
a playable-
do you have to pick up a controller and do it?
You're playing
And do
as
you
that
have-
character. That's
You're
not
not
the
answering my
way.
question. Do you pick up a controller and control the content within the game for these extra levels?
That bonus content, yes.
That's a game.
That's a game, and
It's
I would
a
argue,
separate game.
That's
It's like,
not a
okay,
separate
It's not
game.
a separate game. And
how do you figure?
Because if it's a separate
we're
game,
not
it's a whole separate game.
We're not talking about something like with Arkham City. A year later, they made a completely new DLC game with the Harley Quinn. This is the Harley Quinn, the Batgirl, the Red Hood, and the Scarecrow already having been made.
It's the DLC
And
content
they were-
released early.
They were pulled out of the game
No.
to sell separately.
No.
And
That's not how.
what they
That's
did.
not how it works.
Yes, they did.
No.
Because they also did it with Mortal Kombat. They put Goro in the game disc. They put Goro in the digital download, and you paid the $9.99 to basically download 2 or 3 kilobytes of code to then have him on access as a playable character. And with these games, this is all content that is already being made as part of the development cycle and then pulled out to divide amongst retailers.
But they're not.
because they're developing them at the same
You
time.
realize
side
you don't
by
work for
side.
Game Crazy anymore. You don't have to try and sell them.
I get that, but it's like
this
it's
is-
like a map pack. Okay, they make that map pack when they're
During the
developing the
development of the
game.
game, and then-
But it's sold separately, so that way, once you've played the game and you want to,
But it's not- but
it's
it's
to
not
keep
sold
you
separately.
continuing playing the game once you've
we know what
played.
it's for.
We know what it's
So
for.
it's not a part. but to-
Hold on. You realize that Sebastian is fighting for you as a video game consumer, so that you can
yes,
get a complete game.
but if
without
I don't,
having-
if I want to play the Batman Arkham Knight game, okay, I go out and buy the Arkham Knight game. If I choose to want to get the Harley Quinn, the Batgirl, or any of that
Wouldn't
stuff,
you rather have a game that already had that stuff pre-built in like it originally was before it was diced up and
but a
sold
lot
to
of
you
that
in
stuff
parts?
can't be. You're
They
talking,
can. It's a digital download.
yes, a digital download that's sold separately.
Yes.
Because you can't put that in the actual game because your disc, or you're going to have 4 or 5 discs at some point with all that content.
What's a disc? What's a CD, Rich? I'm 27 years old and I haven't put a single CD into my Xbox One ever, except for movies.
You're part of a very small minority right now.
I am not, because I also play games on the computer, especially before my Mac. But I do play games on my Mac. My Mac doesn't even come with a CD tray. You can't buy modern computer games for the most part in a big box store. You just download it from Steam.
Go look at the numbers now. You will see that the people that are buying, buying a game completely digital.
So you're arguing for physical. You're arguing from the standpoint of space on a physical disc. I'm arguing it's like I can get my digital download, and I mean when I download friggin' Battlefield and it's 10 gigabytes, I don't really care about space.
Well, like I said, you're part of a small minority right now. That's what, when the Xbox One was getting ready to come out, and they said our content is mostly going to be digital, the gaming community freaked out.
No, they didn't, because
They
the gaming
did.
community is mostly on
They
Steam.
didn't freak
outside
out
of
because it was
consoles.
going to be digital.
They were freaking
They freaked out because of the whole thing of not being able to share discs.
Yes, exactly.
things
And
like
by
that.
which you
used
can
discs,
do on
well,
Steam.
yeah.
I think your freak out is also talking about our conversations considering the Xbox were different, because we got to remember the conversations that we were having is between Travis, Ethan, and myself, who have is different than someone like Sebastian who plays every day.
But
For
it's
me,
also,
the idea of digital downloads is still like, what? I'm like a grandpa
I
for
mean,
this stuff. Like,
digital
I can
downloads has
get
been
stuff
going on
after.
for-
it's the same thing with comic books. You buy most of your stuff digitally now, correct?
Yeah.
Most
But you
people,
know what? But you
most
know what?
people
You would
still
be-
go in and want that
Doesn't
hard
matter.
copy.
You know it would be shit? Because it's happened in comic books. When you buy a book and then a couple months later they give stores extra pieces to fill in that story. It's happened with, I believe, the New Frontier.
And why is
Absolute
that?
Edition.
Because they want you to go into the
No, I know.
retail and buy.
Nobody is arguing why. What they're saying is, my point is, you're taking advantage. This is the same thing that happens with toys and collectors. This is the same thing that happens with super collectibles and collectors and all the Marvel Legends Build-A-Figure is basically looking at collectors and going, we know exactly who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck you. Bend over and start buying cases
Yep.
of a whole bunch of figures you don't want because you need to build the Hulkbuster. It's taking advantage of a consumer, of a class of consumer that does not correct itself in the market. This is sports. This is the Chicago Cubs. The Cubs for years. We suck balls. We lose 100 games. We sell out every game. Our TV contract is the second highest contract in all of baseball. We don't have to win. The only reason that the Cubs are good is because an ownership and a management came in that is actually altruistic and said, we're going to win because that's what you deserve. And then after they started winning, going, we can charge more for tickets now. This is awesome. All we're saying is, especially in the case of this tier thing, it's BS because you're basically telling people you're never going to be able to complete the game.
See, the tier thing is a little bit too much.
Here's a better because it's a closer media. Comics are not a media because they're published and they're printed in their final form usually. But how would you like it if you watched Game of Thrones on HBO on your television set, but the people who paid extra to get it digitally got 15 minutes of extra footage per episode?
Well, that's what happens when people buy the discs.
No,
when you
because
buy
they
a
don't
movie,
do director's cuts of television show episodes. But the difference is that if somebody can't afford that extra $20 a month for HBO Go, but the HBO Go customers get an extra 15 minutes per episode, longer episodes, and they go, well, you don't really need that extra 15 minutes of airtime. But if you want it, you get to pay extra for it.
Look, it's the same thing. X-Men Days of Future Past. They took out all the rogue stuff. Then they came back and said, you know what? If you bought it, but you want the extra stuff, then go back and buy another one. It's Lord of the Rings. It's, some of the Star Wars. There's all kinds of stuff. Look, it's toys.
Yes,
if you want to get every one of them in a line, then you can go out and buy every one of them. But you can only go out and buy. But if you want, you only go out and buy the ones you want.
No, the difference is that those special editions and director's cuts had to be produced separately from the original format of the film. They didn't make a director's cut of the movie at the same time they made the film after they finalized all the special effects. They had to go back later and recut the movies together to do those special editions. They didn't have a single version of that. They had only had
but with the DLC content, most DLC content for maps and things like that, it's created after.
No, it's not. It's not. In fact, the fact that you can pre-order right now.
With Titanfall is a good example. Okay, Titanfall came out a year later. They released new content that
they had produced after, not during the making of the game.
But so they're producing a game, a full game.
No,
and now they're producing.
They're producing a full game and then cutting it up to sell.
Because the game is not called Harley Quinn's Batman Arkham Knights. It's not called Nightwing's Arkham Knights. It's not called Batgirls. It's called Batman's Arkham Knight. It's a story about Batman dealing with whatever the situation is going to be. Those side missions.
They wasted time and money to create all that extra content
to get people to continue to play the game after they've already beat it. It's to continue to play the game after you've beat it. It's so that way somebody a year later will load up the game and go, you know what? I haven't played this game in a while. Oh, I want to play as Harley Quinn. I want to play as this. You know what? I can buy the downloadable content now and do it. I don't have to buy it when a game. If you were to put in all of that content, that game would be $90 now because they would charge you that amount right ahead.
No, they wouldn't.
No. Here's the thing, because I agree with what both of you are saying. Here's the thing, though.
You do?
Both of them are making
way to go right down the middle.
But no, you're saying that they're creating those so that way you can continue to play the game.
Yes.
You're saying that they're creating them to basically get more money out of you. Here's the thing. Most of these games with the downloadable content, if you wait 6 months, they're going to release another disc with all that downloadable content in the disc
for the same
for
price.
$10 less,
or cheaper,
because they're going to sell the game. So this really is just a ploy to get more money out of you,
right? Because you could either buy the Arkham Knight
game. Hold on,
hold on.
It's worth it to point out that Rich is arguing for continuing to get this stuff as someone who bought 16 different versions of Guardians. So him spending extra money to get every version of something isn't something he has a problem with.
If I want to.
I'm not saying if you want to.
No, but
here's
the thing. You have, but this is not going to be a big firm. So please take no offense to this, but you have that specific luxury to do so. And I will say that there are gamers out there who don't. And for someone who...
Yeah, but they steal all their shit anyway.
No, yes.
But here's the thing.
Because you can get the full version of the game by stealing it. But in June, you can pay $60 for Arkham Knight and then pay $15 per downloadable DSA. Or you can wait till this Christmas and pay $40 for one disc that has all of it on it, because that's how the game was originally manufactured. Not only did you get a discount, you got all that content.
If all the extra content comes with one disc, then your idea of him having too many discs is actually
not even that, because
it's not.
You can
it's
buy
DLC.
You can buy the Game of the Year edition, and it will come on a single download.
Well, like Injustice, for example. When you first bought Injustice, they said if you want to play as Batgirl, you want to play as so and so and so and so, you have to buy them at $15 a piece, each character to put into the game. Then 6 months later, they released the Injustice downloadable pack game,
Right.
which had all those characters that you paid.
But it was a separate disc.
Did they?
It was a separate. Yeah, it was a
did they-
separate
wait,
game.
Wait, did
No,
they,
it was a completely new edition of the game.
Did they do the shark thing?
Yes.
Because that was the only thing that was worth.
Look,
Yeah, the Shark thing was still in
here's the
there.
bottom line. Here's where all of the DLC exclusive. I can't say it, exclusive. Where everything became exclusive.
Skimming.
Yes.
Whatever the fuck I said.
Okay. When GameStop said, "Look, we want a special perk for people to buy it in our store," and then Best Buy said, "No, we want a special perk for people to buy it in our store," and Target, when we want a special perk, then it became, okay, you know what? Harley Quinn's going to go to
Yes, and
GameStop.
yeah, and publishers have even said, yes, they cut up the games to give those stores special perks.
They cut up the DLC,
No,
not
they're
the
not.
game.
They do cut. They've said it. The DLC is what comes after they cut the game up. And we're not talking about DLC that comes a year later that has been spent. Again, like Harley Quinn's Revenge for Arkham City was made, literally, it was not part of the original production of the game. They actually went back with their original production team and said, hey, let's write a brand new story and we'll make the game. It will make this download. And it was also 40 minutes worth of extra game.
Every one of the Batman Arkham games has had
Yes.
DLC content of different characters that you could play in that world.
Yes, but with Arkham City, that was all that was made brand new a year later. With Arkham Knight, everything was made during the production of the game and then chopped out to sell as
But
DLC.
when you say chopped out, it makes you sound like they're taking a chapter of the game out of it.
that's exactly
That's
what they
But
said
it's
they've
not.
done.
No, they're taking.
That's what they've
They're
said they've
taking
done.
the Harley Quinn missions,
portion of the game, and
but it's
selling
not.
it as
But
DLC.
it's not. Yes, it's a DLC.
You're arguing for essentiality, and that's not what the point is. If you're saying they're not cutting out chapters, yes, they are. If it's there and they remove it, it's a line of code that you're looking at and going, it enhances the overall product, but it can be removed. That still counts as being removed. If it's a piece, but it's not completely essential to your very thoroughfare straight line, Batman beats up 4 villains and the game wins, but it's still there at the beginning and it's removed, then it's removed. Again, you're arguing definition. Sebastian's definition is correct.
But it's the same thing with a movie, and then they put in a director's cut. Yeah, a lot of stuff.
No, they're not, because they don't make the director's cut at the same time as making the movie. They make the
A lot of the
version
times
of the movie.
No,
and then
a
go
lot of the
back
times.
later to
No, that's
recut
not
them.
true. A lot of the times, the director's cut is made, and then they go back and they say, okay, now we got to start trimming things down. We'll take stuff out, and the director's going,
Give me
well,
an
I really
example.
wanted that in there.
Give me an
The
example.
Rogue stuff, the X-Men Days of
Rogue
Future
stuff
Past with
wasn't
Rogue.
finished.
It was finished.
No,
It's
it
not.
wasn't. That was all
The,
unfinished stuff that
the
they
special
went back
effects
later.
and the color grading and all the other stuff was not finished.
Yeah, they did that.
Lord of the
special
Rings is
for
the
that
same
release.
thing. Everything that was done with Lord of the Rings was done by a completely separate team.
So what you're saying
afterwards.
is almost every movie that's made that has footage that gets cut out. Like even when they started making when you started being able to have DVDs that had the deleted scenes, those were things that were originally shot in the film that were at one point a part of the film that they've had to go back and take out, and then they've put them separate.
Well, no, because
that's
they
the
never
same
finished
thing
those
as what you're
special
saying.
but it's not finished.
But here's
Not
the-
always.
but
That's
here's
not
the-
necessarily true.
I'm not saying it's not always, but you're arguing that the majority of films are locked. You get to a point where everything is done, and it's 2 hours and 65 minutes, which is 3 hours and 5 minutes because of math. And then you're going, and then they go in and take out 40 minutes. No, they don't.
It may not. I'm not saying that it's
Not
that
the majority
long.
of it, but that's what I'm saying.
A lot. Of,
It's little pieces, but you're talking about a big thing. I'm going to table this now because we need to get on to something else, which is video games. Tuesday announced that the most anticipated game of the year, probably the most anticipated game in a number of years, is in fact getting a beta test. EA Games announced that coming in early October to a bunch of different systems and PC, the Star Wars Battlefront Beta will feature a Walker Assault on Hoth 40-player multiplayer battle featuring Rebels in the Empire.
Which I believe is, I think the 40-player battle is PC only, if I'm not mistaken.
I thought they'd announced that it was going to be for.
They're going to try, but I believe...
Yeah, it says coming. I kind of just cut and paste the official thing from EA.com, and it was coming early October to PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Origin for PC. Star Wars Battlefront Beta features Walker Assault on Hoth 40-player multiplayer battle featuring Rebels in the Empire. Walker Assault also gives you the chance to play as two of the most iconic characters in the Star Wars universe, Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker. The beta also features survival mission on Tatooine, where you and a rebel friend must fight back waves of Imperial forces. I'm assuming that's what we
That's
played.
what we played at Comic-Con.
Oh, I thought that was the mission where Uncle Owen fights back before getting burned. No,
And then he has a barbecue.
He's a badass.
And then they
survival
also said
mission on
that,
Tatooine.
in addition to those two modes, they're revealing a brand new mode that'll be available in the beta called Drop Zone, but they didn't share any details and said that they would later. Does anybody know what Drop Zone is? Does anyone have any rumors as to what the hell this is?
That sounds like a horde mode, which in the game would be like wave after wave of guys.
It's not the bad guys from Masters of the Universe?
No.
Or either that, or
That's a pull
they
right
drop
there.
you into a mission.
Maybe. Just right in the middle.
Or drop in, drop in.
Your
So
mission
who's-
is to burn Aunt Beru.
Aunt Beru and Uncle Owen.
Go on.
Well, like when you look at it smells like barbecue out here.
No, I love Aunt Peru's cooking.
So you're obviously getting Battlefront the day it comes out.
I am.
Are you
The-
getting
the
Battlefront
40
This is more interesting. Are you getting Battlefront? the day
Yeah,
it comes
because
out?
I can download it at midnight from my Xbox.
They're having a midnight launch also. So,
Yeah, but I'll be at home in my pajamas.
but
I can go to GameStop in my pajamas.
but see, here's the thing: because you didn't pre-order it and you're not pre-ordering it, that means that you won't get to play the Battle of Jakku a week earlier than everybody else.
That doesn't mean anything to me because if the game is shit, then the game will be shit anyways, and you'll have paid that much money without.
there's
reading
no
any
goatee
reviews.
on. There's no goatee on the Stormtrooper.
Hold on, we're
helmet.
getting to that.
Oh, sorry.
But they did say one thing about the 40 player. 40. I was talking to him at D23.
How big were the maps in the earlier one? Because I've only played. I think I played the second Battlefront for PlayStation 2 or whatever.
The maps were
Was it that many players?
no,
Okay.
but see, they also said it's 20 players, 20 bots. Is
So
that's
it's
what they
not
were?
really. It's not really 40.
Oh, okay.
That's what they were saying it was at D23.
Yeah, because if it's DICE, they do Battlefield. So
Correct.
I'm getting the feeling that the 40 versus 40 actual human players will be PC only because PCs.
That's
are
the only thing that
system
can handle it.
That can handle it. The Xbox.
Yeah.
PC Master Race.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you for Battlefront?
Oh, I'm extremely excited.
Okay.
Although I'm more excited now that
That
they
still doesn't
announced
answer my question.
the Battlefront book, which takes place between.
Oh yeah, no, they announced it.
4 and 5.
Twilight Company.
Yeah.
I actually just looked up the release date for that. They announced that back
I'll
in
play the
Celebration.
I'll play the
Or
beta.
does it take place between 5 and 6? It's 4.
I don't remember. We'll look it up later.
Yeah.
I'm
I'm excited.
excited.
Once they announce when to get the beta for it, should
Oh
be
my
good.
goodness.
Oh no.
Oh, the headphones still work after that. I can't
know.
believe it. That's amazing. Since Rich just picked up his Aftermath book, his games like Battlefront, brand new Aftermath book, which came out Friday,
Takes place between 4 and 5.
begin to shed some light on the new post-Jedi universe. It's announced on Friday that the Star Wars special C-3PO #1, new story from the Journey to Star Wars Force Awakens publishing program, is coming in December. It follows the Goldenrod droid on a solo adventure leading up to his appearance in the new film and reveals what leads to the change in appearance in which he has a red left arm. It reunites writer and artist team of James Robinson and Tony Harris for the first time in almost 2 decades.
So-
Robinson and Harris collaborated on the initial run of Starman when Jack Knight took up the mantle from his father and brother. The duo was critically acclaimed for the run and received awards for it for well.
Oh,
When I first saw the tweet, I was like, "Oh, cool, that's a neat story." And then when I looked into it, I'm like, "Robinson and Harris are doing
Oh,
this.
yeah.
That's awesome." Tony Harris is amazing.
Easily
and the
star
best
runner.
part of all of that is that it's only a one shot, so Tony Harris will
Yes.
actually finish it.
Yes.
Because Tony Harris did Chin Music #1, and there is no Chin Music #2.
But yeah.
And I'm glad that they're doing that, so that way. I mean, here's another thing. I mean, it's if you don't want to know how C-3PO got his red arm, you don't have to go to it.
It's not the
But-
same medium, Rich.
It is.
No, it's not. A book is not a video game. And if you had to buy a book and then say,
That's why nobody reads books anymore. It actually isn't true.
If you
They
bought a
said
book-
the number of people actually reading has gone up in America in the last
which
10
is, yeah, I'm sure things like Kindles make it easier because you can get
yeah,
books
no,
for
it's
cheap.
basically said this idea that reading is dying is actually not
Right.
true. Yeah,
If you had to buy a book for $20 and then they told you chapter 10 was an extra $5, you would shit yourself in
but if it was
anger.
Battlefront, or if it was,
But you would
Aftermath,
pay.
you
But you would pay for it. You would get the pre-order, so you get special chapter 10 that goes between.
And then 6 months
9
later,
and
there's the
11.
re-release of the book
That
with
comes
chapter
with
10
chapter
in
10.
it.
Not how
built in.
DLC
For
works.
$10
It
less.
is.
All right,
Every
Taylor,
publisher has
stop.
talked
I don't
about
wanna
it.
talk
Yes,
about
that
this
is how DLC works.
Sebastian.
You are just having
Sebastian,
confirmation
shut
bias.
up.
That's no. If you
Shut
were
up!
playing the first half of
Enough!
Batman and you get to it and it's a cliffhanger,
Enough. We're not talking about video games anymore. Moving on, World of TV.
I just want to say I don't
No.
like it any more than anyone else. I'd rather have all the content for free.
Stop! Enough. I told you enough. I don't want
It's
to talk
not
about
free.
this
You
anymore.
would be buying it when you buy the game.
Jesus Christ. Move on, World TV. Quick notes. CBS announced Tuesday that September 10th episode of The Dome will be the series finale. This comes as a surprise to people like me who had no idea that the program was still on the air.
That would be Under the Dome.
That sounds about right.
Whatever. Under the dome, over the dome,
The dome.
the dome,
The dome.
in the dome.
That said like 10 names.
The Simpsons movie.
Through the Dome.
CBS did promise that its mysteries and answers will be revealed during the series finale, based on Stephen King's best-selling novel. Debuted in 2013. It's been one of the most watched shows on television for the past 3 summers. That has to be from CBS.
That's just because people can't.
Because you're actually watching that.
Because there's nothing else on.
Unfortunately, yes.
There's nobody else
plenty
I
of
know
other
watch
stuff
that.
on during the summer.
Hey, Rich.
Or there's this thing next to you.
Aliens.
It's called a book. That's
No, they've already revealed that.
Okay.
Is it Aliens? Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's
Did the cow make it?
no, but that's the bad thing is you see.
You see it every
Well, see,
single
here's the
episode,
thing.
don't you?
Here's the thing. The whole thing takes place within 3 weeks. So the whole
So each season is a week.
no, each season's a day almost. I mean, in some
Well, if you're
cases.
3 seasons, then it's 3 weeks.
I aged really badly over the course.
Yeah.
I know that's just that the kids have gotten really old.
CW released the trailer for the upcoming season of Arrow this week, showing off a new name for Ollie's hometown or city, new costumes for Thea Queen Speedy and Diggle, and of course Arrow himself, and the debut of a new villain, Damien Dark, played by Neil McDonough, which makes me excited because I love that.
I like
dude.
that guy.
He's
He's an
awesome.
actor.
Diggle's costume though.
Diggle's costume's terrible.
It's horrible. It
Yeah.
looks like he
It
has.
also shows I guess the
All that money's going to Flash.
yeah, the White Canary resurrection is.
Yes, it does. That ties into the.
Yeah, he goes
the
other thing, 'cause
Legions.
It also says I don't. When you're watching the trailer, as you draw into Star City, there's the memorial to Ray Palmer.
Uh huh.
I don't remember him dying at the end of the last season, or that people would think he's dying.
I don't remember that.
Yeah,
either.
I was like,
Did he shrink into the
Wait.
microverse?
no, that's a movie that nobody saw.
No, but something like that did happen,
I know he was like in the suit and something, but
and something did happen. Yeah.
yeah, that's why I was like, why? I guess that
Well, maybe
finale
he
did not stick with me
dies
as
in the
much.
first episode, and that's what you're thinking.
But no, there is something where it's like he
Because
dies or something.
Who
There's
does
like
he
something,
fight
but
who does he fight at the end of the season?
But I don't remember.
it gives you the idea that maybe he did shrink. Because he has that accident where the top of Palmer Towers blows up.
That was.
Oh yeah, that's right. That wasn't that.
Yes.
That's what it was. He fights and then the suit fails or something like that.
Yeah, and he's doing
He's
an
trying to fix it
experiment
or
at the end.
something?
No, he's
Yeah.
doing an experiment. He's trying to fix it, and then the whole top of
I
the
totally forgot.
and that's how I was like, oh, okay, now explains how he's going to get the shrinking power.
Man, as a hyperbole aside, the show's just not my cup of tea. But the fact that nobody could remember what happened
Well, I remembered.
kind of frightens me.
Well, no, I remembered what happened with Ollie, and I remembered
He still
how
doesn't
Ray
have a goatee.
got to the part.
No, he doesn't.
And the fact
I saw that.
Ollie
I saw that wisp piece of crap they had on.
and Felicity leave, and that he leaves. His,
And they do the whole drive down Malibu.
Yeah.
They drive right past the Point Magoo, the rock.
Hey, I know where that is.
It's like in Austin Powers.
It's like
they
every
all
movie
do.
has every movie that
Oh,
where
yeah.
they show Malibu.
There's only-
It has to show that rock.
Well, it's not even close to Malibu. That's
No,
the other
it's not.
problem. It's like 15 miles away from it. It's the Rock and
Iron Man.
No, what are we talking about? The other Hidden Valley. When we saw Agents of Shield driving down that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Isn't it amazing how every backdrop in the mountains looks like Southern California?
Yeah, it's
Right.
Incredible. Despite the fact that we didn't do a review for it, a lot of people still watched Fear the Walking Dead for its second week.
I thought we would do 2 and 3 this week.
Yeah. Well, this is why when we did the first one, I told you not to promise people that we'd be doing it weekly. You can't do it this week. It's not on this week.
That's right.
Well, then we could do this
I
week's.
saw that thing that you all call a commercial, and they said
Yeah.
that it would not be on this
That
week.
thing you
Yes,
call a
yes,
commercial.
Last week's second episode pulled in 11.7 million viewers with the Nielsen's Live Plus 3 ratings, which is the 72 hours after the.
And it was so
It's all,
much
is
better.
that all the DVR stuff?
Yeah,
What
it's
goes
if
into
you watch
that?
it on the DVR within 72 hours, it counts it as,
Yes.
as things. So, yeah, Sunday's premiere only had 8.2 million people that were added in it.
Do you think people
Um,
forgot that it was on?
No. It has the same thing. Second installment saw a slight uptick in the time-shifted viewing compared to the August 23rd premiere. To clear up the numbers, 8.2 million people watched it live. After the Live Plus 3 ratings, it released almost 12. So almost
Okay.
4 million people watched it within 3 days,
Okay.
giving it a grand total of almost 12 million people. 90-minute episode, the premiere, had 10 million people watch it live and 3 million people watch it. So the numbers are pretty close. It didn't lose a lot. Since we didn't talk about it, I thought we'd talk about the episode just a little here. I like that episode a hell of a lot more.
That episode made so much more sense.
I thought the first episode made sense, but the pacing of this was really well because I thought
Yes.
it was paced well where the slow moments fit.
It actually felt more
she's-
like a Walking Dead
It
episode.
definitely felt like it does what The Walking Dead does very, very well, which is the tension is very strong. The whole part where she's in the school with Isaac.
I think it is Isaac.
Yeah,
Something like that.
Yeah, with the kid who brings the knife to school.
The
at one
nerd.
point.
The,
Yeah.
the
Tobias.
guy. The Tobias, yes.
Is it
The,
Tobias?
the,
Isaac. Who the hell's Isaac?
the,
Apparently reading the Bible.
he's the hero of the wasteland in the future.
Yeah.
He's gonna bulk up in the school, subsiding on canned meat.
Yeah, but in
We're
terms
gonna
of
see that
school,
in a
awesome. They did a good job in the school of they're advancing the plot to a certain degree by having Tobias's conversation with
With the teacher
girl. Yeah, with the teacher there.
or the counselor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Drove me crazy for the longest time to try and figure out who the hell she was, and she was the cop in Gone Girl.
Yes.
I was like, "Who is this? What? She looks so damn familiar."
and the husband's ex-wife is it was on Orange Is the New Black.
Yeah. But yeah, that whole scene, and then when you get to they hear the audio of
Him on the
of a zombie being in there. I thought it did a really good job. The pacing was really good, and I thought everything kind of made sense in this one. She would go to the school by herself, makes sense. The whole thing of the escalation of the police gunning down a homeless person and the
riots.
the mob not understanding what's going on, and I thought it walked that thin line of knowing. You know the cops had a good reason to do it, but you also know why they're not telling everybody. And not telling everybody is they don't believe them that, hey, we have a reason for gunning this dude down. We're just not going to tell you what it is.
And you don't see it until the girl.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
you see when you see it with the girl, and then everything goes crazy. And I
Do
had
you-
one person tell me, he's like, it wouldn't escalate that fast. I said, you haven't been watching the news.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh my yeah.
Because it would
ended up
totally would.
just-
Especially if it happened right in front of you.
It did very
Well, look at the
very well on the relevance.
look at the shooting with the reporter and the cameraman. How that escalated. I mean that.
Well, I just mean in the sense of having a group of people. We're talking about Ferguson. You have a group of people
Right.
that are together that have come out for one reason, just to
powder
say
keg.
That's the best
Yeah.
example.
And that's the thing is, I found it believable that if you're standing there as a group of people that is already distrustful of an authoritative police force, watching someone gun somebody down who looks like there's no reason, she isn't a threat, except the cop knows she is because she has information that's they're withholding from everybody else, you would start to go crazy.
Right.
And then the things get changed, and the stuff that was going on with the kid.
That was my
the drug
only
kid.
little nitpick with it, and it's just a little
You didn't
nitpick.
detox the right way.
Yes, exactly. It was like, oh, it's going to happen. Here it comes, and then boom, there it was. There wasn't any.
Well, I don't think it's over.
No. But what I mean was, it went from no effects to I'm on the floor, vomiting in my mouth.
Well, I think it's,
There would have been a time when the sweats are coming on,
I think there's a
the shakes.
Well, he has that.
Yeah,
at
it's
the
the
beginning. I mean, he's pretty
com-
much sick in the
But
beginning.
I think that's just by virtue of the compressed timeline of how you're supposed to be
Gotta
watching
do
it.
that sort of thing. So,
But yeah, I liked it a lot, and I wonder if just that coincidentally relevant for the series right now. It happened to be produced and shot and then released.
well, I mean, this
this
right
right
has
now
been going
in a
on
time
for
of
more
tension.
than a year.
Yeah,
So I think there's very much a.
Speaking of that kid, I didn't realize it, but he was
James Franco?
he's the young Voldemort in, or he played. Oh God, what was
Tom Riddle?
Tom Riddle, yes, in
Really?
yeah. Which Harry? Oh shit! Which Harry? It was Harry Potter, and I've got it right
Potter
here.
and
The Half-Blood Prince.
Harry Potter and the Castle that had movies.
Yeah, he was Tom Riddle.
interesting.
I didn't realize that until I was.
Tom Bombadil? What?
Yeah. But no, it just does. It was a little nitpick thing. I liked his performance on the drugs. I liked his performance when he was, doing.
As a character on drugs, not
Yes,
the actor was on drugs.
correct.
I went method. I just started shooting heroin, and then I detoxed in the middle of it.
I liked the his sister, the way it was portrayed this episode,
Yeah, she's a little more.
and I
she
loved.
has a lot more layers to her.
Yes, I loved how the parents' reaction with her and the boyfriend were when they knew what was happening to the boyfriend.
Again, it's one thing that they have in this type of series that you don't have in Walking Dead is that the majority of people don't know what's going on. And
Right.
so you're watching it, and there's three very quick scenes with it. There's the very beginning where she's telling the parents are telling the daughter to get away from him. What happens with the cop, and then the end when the daughter tries to run out of the house to save their neighbor,
Right.
and the mother blocks the door, and she's like, "What the hell are you doing?"
Mm-hmm.
It's again, that's a layer in this that's not in The Walking Dead of this idea that there are some people that know what's going on, and there's some people that don't. And
The
what-
scene
what
with the
do you
cop
actually tell them?
when the cop is putting all the water in his trunk,
Yeah.
and the dad sees it, it's like at that point you could tell that the dad knew this is hopeless. We got to get the fuck
there's
out of
other
here.
Things that are
Yeah.
going on. Let's move to what everyone's been talking about: Force Friday.
What's that?
Force Friday.
I have no idea. Is that
Yeah.
something with Guardians of the Galaxy?
If it was, you would have been even more first in line. Midnight on Friday saw the release of the first merchandise for the upcoming Star Wars The Force Awakens film. Designated Force Friday by Disney marketers, many Toys R Us and Target stores opened at 12:01 to throngs of fans waiting to buy toys, building sets, role-play
Thongs of
toys.
fans?
Thongs. Throns, as in Admiral Thrawn.
Yes. Roleplay tools apparel featuring BB-8, Kylo Ren, and Captain Phasma. But apparently you needed to be first in line. Many stores ran out of merchandise quickly, as most of them had very little to begin with. The Force Friday hashtag quickly became the Farce Friday hashtag, as fans vented on social media about long lines and little product to offer. Business websites like Forbes and Wall Street Journal were touting the day as a boon that could bring in nearly $1 billion in sales worldwide in a single day, but it's tough to tell how damaging the product shortcomings will be to long-term fans. And to only do one thing from the video game discussion is another type of fandom that doesn't course correct itself for market.
That's true.
It will be back when they do Episode 8 Force Friday. All of these idiots are still going to be 35th in line.
But the thing is, as Carp made a great point today on Facebook, we'll be here. We'll have it. This isn't the end of it.
The mentality to a certain degree I understand, because in the last couple of years, if you don't get on the initial, you as a lay consumer who doesn't go to Target every day, doesn't go to Toys R Us every day, not you and me,
Right.
but
The average family
is never going to see it. That's the
Right.
fear. That's the fear. Is that fear going to be justified? We don't know. We don't know how much of this stuff is going to be made.
Right.
In terms of our personal experience, you and I did fine because we were fourth in line. And
Well, I didn't get it. I didn't get when I walked into the store, I had already put things in my Amazon cart and my
you were smart.
my Disney store cart. So I knew if I didn't get this person or this character here, I've got it in my cart. All I have to do is hit hit
as
send.
long as it was still there at that
Right.
point.
So
Apparently
when
now
I
Amazon's
didn't
sold
when
out
I
of a
didn't
lot
get
of
them, when I was standing here, when you went back and you said, "Here, watch the cart," I hit send or I hit pay on my
for
Amazon,
the stuff
and
that
I'd
you
already
had already deleted the stuff that was in there.
exactly.
But yeah, it turned into a lot of complaining, as a lot of stores didn't have any product. Now,
Here's the thing.
in our personal experience, the Black Series 6-inch figures, our store had 3 cases, and that's it. Which
The
means for most
Targets did
characters,
too.
They only had 3 available, and in terms of Kylo Ren, they would have had 6 because he's the double pack.
Correct.
And a lot of other stores have that. We've all kind of wondered what's happening. And there's 3 factors that we've kind of come up with, and one, it's stores didn't order as much because they've been burned before on both Episode 1 and Episode 3 figures, and then Episode 1 again. A lot of people forget this. When Episode 1 released the
3D
vintage figures for 3D, it was a mess. And on top of that, it's still 3.5 months until this film comes
Correct.
out. And that's the longest lead time between product reveal or product release and the movie release. So I think a lot of toy buyers, that the executives would have looked at this and said, even if we sell out, we've got 3 months to restock this stuff. So
Look, I can
we
tell you
don't
right
have
now,
to
if you want 3 3/4 figures, go to Kohl's. The one
Yeah.
here in town
Well, there's a
has
reason why
everything.
they still have it because it's $12.
Yeah.
The second thing is I don't know if there's enough product either, especially with the 6-inch black.
Well, I think when if they do what we were talking about, where it seemed like they were trying to allocate the same amount to each store.
Well, they're allocating based on your order.
Right.
You know, the Toys R Us that does $1 million every day or whatever probably would have ordered a lot more. They would have gotten.
And then the other thing
a
is the
percent.
size
That's
of the
what
store
everything
is going to.
But it's also in the case of not having that kind of product, there have been some different challenges to creating product for a lot of different companies, and there's stuff that I know from people that I know for work for other companies that the steps that you have to take to get to the point where you're able to sculpt these were really way behind.
Sure.
So I really think that they didn't make a lot of 6-inch black, and stores got allocated.
Right. Well, the big thing that everybody wanted, that Sphero BB-8, the one that was all of a sudden came out of nowhere, that it just, I don't think they started producing that before Celebration. I think at Celebration, when they brought BB-8 on that stage and they kind of started saying, okay, this is how it's
They
made.
also have to figure out how to make it. Yeah.
Right. Then Sphero said, you know what? We already have the ball. All we have to do is find a way, is to put the magnetic little head on there and change the paint scheme, and boom, there you go.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see, because Phase 2 is actually, this will be the first time a second phase will come out before the movie comes out. Because Phase 2 of 6-inch black is apparently there's a couple more 3 3/4 that are supposed to come out.
Right.
Before the film comes out as well. So that will be.
I think the only 6-inch that I didn't get out of the first run is Chewbacca.
Well, you're actually one of the few people that bought Finn.
Yes.
Because nobody else is.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
And then the Disney stores have plenty.
Yeah, well, again, like we said when we were at dinner, I think the casual fan, again, does not think of the Disney store as a place to buy toys.
Right.
And that's part of the reason that Disney bought Star Wars, was so that it could have toys in their Disney store.
Well, that's why
notice Disney store used to exist a long time ago. It used to be in the Oaks Mall, and then it went out of business, and there were very few Disney stores, and there was mostly outlet stuff for stuff that was being sold in the parks that wasn't selling. Would go to the outlet. All of a sudden, in the last few years, you've seen Disney stores pop up again. And part of it is they have more product to sell because they have so many more.
And they're getting exclusive product.
Well, see, here's the thing: the Elite Diecast 6-inch line that they have, which the box that I got from D23, found out that all of those figures except for C-3PO and R2-D2 are going to be released between now and December, and then December 18th they're going to release a new Episode 7 figure. That these are their. The premium princess dolls that they have, the ones that are the Barbie size, that are they're sculpted better. They look more like the cartoon characters. This is their boys line for the Star Wars. So yeah, this line of the 6-inch figures that they released, there was they have Captain Phasma, the Flame Trooper, the Stormtrooper, Finn, Rey with BB-8, and
the metallic ones for like human characters are weird.
Yeah, well, the sculpt on Rey, on both the 6-inch black and the 6-inch diecast, the sculpt on her face is just not that great.
That's the case with a lot of the human-looking characters.
Yes.
Any 3 3/4, any action figure.
But I think the Elite one is way better than the regular Black Series. Like
even
the
BB-8 that comes in the box
looks better than the 6-inch Leia figure.
But here's the thing. Both the Black Series and the Elite Series, Finn, you can still find him.
Finn's boring. He doesn't come with anything cool. He comes with a blaster that looks like a drill.
Yeah.
Like, I do not like I'm very picky with guns and stuff like that.
Do you think that's the new, like, the Resistance gun?
God, I hope not. I really hope not. Because it's an ugly piece
because
of crap.
with the Black Series, they usually make accurate-looking guns.
Well, no, it's accurate to the film because it's in 3 different things. I've seen that gun is all over the place.
Right.
Anything that he comes with,
picked up.
Yeah, it's whatever he picks up and uses.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it looks like a lot of that takes place on almost a junk planet, so I'm sure it's a junker gun. But it's just aesthetically, I look at it and go, ugh. I mean, there's a bunch of stuff I saw that I really liked. Captain Phasma's awesome. I don't even know anything about her character.
Yes.
Except I like the actress who plays her, and I love the design of a trooper that looks different. It's chrome, it's shiny, it's got the cape. So that's the 3 3/4 I picked up. I've fallen for the Stormtrooper design. When we first saw it, it was stupid.
They call it the duck face design.
Especially the Flame Trooper and the Snow Trooper.
Yes.
So mad that Toys R Us exclusive. The pre-order for the Snow Trooper Commander.
But you can, for the... Is that for just the regular 3 3/4?
No, that's
or is that the black?
That's the Black Series 6-inch Commander with the pauldron.
Yes, because
it's a Toys R Us exclusive, and the pre-order sold out in minutes.
The 3 and 3.
I'm starting to see a lot of parallels to this video game thing. This
The
is kind
3
of
and 3.
frightening. No pre-orders. Look, no pre-orders. Stop pre-ordering, people.
That's going to be the
3 and
title
3
of this episode.
Do not
Do
pre-order.
not pre-order this episode.
We can name it that. The 3 3/4.
Charge people for it.
The 3 3/4. Can I get this out?
Really, really technical. Pre-order is a false term because you either order it or you don't.
Yeah,
There's
you're
no such thing
prepaying.
as pre-ordering. Prepaying? No, that's not either.
No,
You either
that's
pay
true.
for it
That's
or you don't.
yeah.
There's partial pay, but there's no such thing as prepay, and there's no such thing as pre-order.
Okay.
Well, pre-order would mean that you're
We've
paying
had-
for the whole thing, but
We've-
then by then
no,
you've
we've
ordered
had-
it.
We've had this
Yeah.
discussion. No, because if you're paying for part of it to reserve it,
You're
you're
reserving
not
it.
ordering, you are ordering it and you are reserving it. You're doing
See,
two
and
things.
at Game Crazy, we called it pre-order when we spoke to customers, but everything that our marketing said was reserve it. You're
Right.
reserving your
Reserving
copy.
is different. Yes,
Yes.
reserving is a different term. And a correct term, if you're saying, if you give me money right now, I guarantee you're having it.
Yes.
That's a reserve. A reservation at a restaurant is we're guaranteeing you a table.
Right.
It comes with a
So
new
that's
hat.
every time I hear pre-order, it's one of those stupid things. Like, it's just one of those things that bugs me every time I hear it because that's a false term.
But your
It's-
pre-order
it's not
comes
a-
with a new hat.
Doesn't count. Okay.
Hey, we actually had
That's
that
kind
happen
of a hat.
before. We've given hats for pre-orders.
Yeah, I believe it. It's just like I
Value
could care
station,
less.
new
I'm
hat.
like, that's not true.
Mm-hmm.
It's I could not care less, or I couldn't care less. If you could care less, that means you care, which means your statement is inaccurate.
Right.
Three
So
and three-quarter something or other.
the Elite, it's Disney's way of having a Star Wars toy that's exclusive to the parks and to the stores that are on the same par as their Princess lines.
Yeah, well, they also do the vehicles in that big titanium.
They did the titanium vehicles, which are the same.
the
It's
scale
basically
up, yeah.
the same size, but they're a scale up from the.
Well, but they've had this stuff before because you bought the AT-AT for it a
Yes.
couple months ago.
Right.
That was the one, like, whatever Disney store I was in, I was taking pictures. I was like, oh, yeah, these are cool, and they're metal, and they look cool. So.
Which Beth found out the Camarillo outlet is actually just a regular store.
Yeah, it would be. This,
They consider it a regular store.
everything.
Whatever
everything-
promotion-
I'll tell you, everything in Camarillo that says it's an outlet, it's not a true
Right.
outlet. You got to go out to the desert to get to the outlet.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
go
yeah.
in and go, wow, these shirts are ugly, but they're like $4.
Yeah.
because nobody bought them.
So they said whatever promotion's there,
Yeah,
one
it's
is
same
the
thing.
other.
I mean, it's a real thing.
Which, by the way, I've got your Disney store stuff and a surprise for you.
Oh no,
Ooh.
I'm so glad we said that on the air for some reason.
I know.
There you go, kids.
now Chris is gonna have to share his surprise with everybody on Facebook and Twitter and all that.
No,
jazz.
actually, don't. I can't even get into our Twitter. I get into Facebook, you know, Twitter.
Well, the Facebook automatically links to Twitter once
Yeah.
you put it up.
Oh, good for
Well,
us.
there you go.
Go technology.
Yeah.
And look, the microphones work. This is crazy.
It's been working for a while.
And the headphones
I
don't
know.
disconnect.
Well, except for
goodness.
Mikey's. Finally,
That's because Mikey's using an Apple product. Which I shouldn't say that because everything in my house is Apple.
yeah, I was gonna say everything is Apple. Your Xbox is Apple. It could be. Anyway,
Force Friday.
finally, yeah, we're done with Force Friday. We want to mention the passing of horror legend Wes Craven, who lost his fight with brain cancer last Sunday. That news actually broke while we were recording.
Yes.
Craven is best known for defining the horror genre in the 80s with the first of the Nightmare on Elm Street films. He also came back and did the last one, featuring the knife-handed Freddy Krueger,
Mm-hmm.
an icon of horror, and then redefining the genre with the deconstructed Scream film in 1996. He was 76. I'm not a big horror fan, but I have seen his two Nightmares and Scream. So
Yep.
you know, someone defines a genre when you're someone who just doesn't really care about.
Well,
the
he was
genre very
actually
much.
in the. It wasn't the last Freddy. Well, it was the last Freddy Krueger before they reboot the series.
Yeah, the new
They
whatever
did
that
the
was.
remake.
Yeah, that was the last one. He
Right.
came back
And he played himself in it, and it was the actress who played.
It's the new Nightmare.
He was
Yeah,
it was the new Nightmare.
And
Yes.
New Nightmare was very much a deconstruction of his own series already, because
Which-
that's the only one he did, and then lead that into the.
The funny thing about New Nightmare was they were rebooting the franchise and making a film, and the Freddy,
The
aura, the essence, took over the mechanical glove that they had made
Yeah,
and started killing people.
yeah, it was very. It
was a good movie.
interesting.
It actually
He did-
says
and
something
that's-
about Hollywood now.
Yeah, we only mentioned two things, but he did a lot of other stuff too. So we just wanted to, he's an icon of our kind of pop culture genre. So we want to mention his passing.
Tip our hats to him.
As Kevin Smith would say, it's a big bucket of wind.
Can't see me through the sound of this podcast, but I am tipping my hat to him.
just like a Freddy Krueger hat.
Yeah, because what hat? Where's your hat? There you go.
Free hat. Free hat McCullough.
But it's got to do.
So we're gonna end on a down note.
No, we're gonna end on you telling everybody where they can find us, because I don't remember, and I know you have it.
But
memorized.
you're supposed to be the one now.
No?
Okay, so
Where can we find us?
where can we find us?
Where can we find ourselves?
Well, we're on Facebook
Okay.
at Nerdables. Facebook.com/Nerdables. We're also at Twitter.
/.
Let's just say slash.
Slash.
That's all I ever say.
I think
slash.
we keep saying
We're
that every time.
Facebook/Nerdables.
Facebook.com/Nerdables.
Twitter @Nerdables Show.
I love it when he gets it right because he got it wrong for like 8 months in a row.
And our website, which is nerdables.com.
Don't go to that.
No, because we're going to have some new content, right, guys?
Okay, we said that for like the last.
Right, guys?
This is the same thing. This is the same thing as you were saying. We're going to be here every week to do Fear the Walking Dead.
I'm asking you, are we?
Don't ask stuff on the air.
Because I have to hold you to it.
Well,
It's
we
a
had a
verbal-
whole
You can
plan.
hold me to anything
It's
you
a
want.
verbal contract.
We had a
I got
whole
a
plan
lot
to
of
do
places
something
to go.
today, and we kind of threw that out the window after dinner. So
Well, we changed the plan.
we come back, and Rich is like, I don't think we're gonna.
I
do
said
that
I had a
today."
feeling we're not going to be filming that today. Fuck. Every week, I
This
keep
is
telling
so
Sebastian.
Yeah, don't wait for me. By the way, please don't. If you got something to film.
Yeah, you may
I
want to
feel
start filming stuff.
I feel like Matt Hooper, like because waiting for me to show up once a week, and even if I can't make it on the weekends, it's just going to extend things. So please start.
I don't
We
know
just
anything.
blame it all on you.
Oh, okay.
I don't get anything.
Blame it on the rain.
We can unbox my
Unbox
X-Men
my.
miniatures from 6 months ago.
I feel like every time you buy something and I see it on the internet, she's like, "Did you film it?"
He should. That's why I haven't opened
Before you open
anything
that,
from
film
my.
that.
I haven't opened anything from Force Friday yet because
I haven't opened anything for Force Friday because I've either been asleep or trying to get a dog to go to sleep. One or the other. I finally opened my first Order Trooper and I was like, oh, hey. That's
So-
what this thing is supposed to
Did
be
you film
like.
it?
I told you.
Fuck no.
I told you yesterday I was supposed to be getting my Aftermath and my my Disney Infinity, right? It was supposed to be delivered. It said it was delivered. They sent it to the postal carrier was new and took it to another house.
What are you, new?
And I had to track them down. And finally, I got to our postal carrier this morning, and she went down the hill to the other Tuolumne areas. I realized I'm giving out my address.
This is all fascinating for people who have no idea what you're talking about.
Now,
So
now
anyways-
somebody's got a map like, and just draws like a
So
big quarter
within
mile
this
circle.
try marker, this is where the Nerdable show is recorded.
Oh,
Look, I was surprised when I showed up at my house today and my small package with Aftermath was still on my porch. And I'm like, oh, phew, no one took it.
so our loyal listener in Ohio, Brandon, he was talking to his mom about
Say, listen to her?
listener.
I'm gonna listen to her.
Listen to her.
I'm a listen to her.
I listen to vertibles. I am a listen to her. Not a listen doer, but a listen to her. That's
So-
what America needs. More people who are tours and not enough people who are doers.
Is that T-O-O?
Raconteur.
He was talking to his mom, and his mom looked at him and goes, Darth Vader didn't die at the end of episode 6. That's just a conspiracy.
Okay, we have
Nice.
Star Wars
And he
truthers.
looked at her and goes,
Trolling.
what? Are you kidding me? She's, no, it's a government conspiracy. Darth Vader did not die.
We have Star Wars
I like trolling. We gotta get her to keep starting that.
That's like Beth was reading the inside or reading the cover of Aftermath, and she goes, when did they have a second Death Star?
What?
I know. I'm like, what? She goes, okay, Luke blew up the first one. When was there a second one? I'm like, I'm just looking at her, waiting for it to click in. And she goes, okay, Return of the Jedi, there was...
Did she just watch the Ewok parts and that's it?
I guess. I don't know. We just watched episode 4 last night.
That's bizarre.
But yeah, I mean, I couldn't believe it. She was like, when was there a second Death Star?
Episode
like
6
the,
is a prequel.
And yet she's going to kill me for saying that because you're going to say something to her.
Oh my god. I do love the thing that's going around of the second Death Star and it just says epic fail.
Yeah.
It's like, that's cool.
Did you see the little cartoon thing that came out of the... it was the Death Star architect?
Yeah, that wasn't as good. Have you ever seen their Mortal Kombat one?
No.
When you don't finish someone?
No.
It's Scorpion versus Sub-Zero, and it gets to the point where Sub-Zero's head's like going around.
Oh, yeah.
Finish him! And he doesn't.
He doesn't.
He's fought with honor. I leave him alone, and it's all the rest. Of
He's
it.
like at home and stuff. Yeah.
that is hilarious.
Yeah.
That group does that. It's
I saw that. But the architect was good. It's like, so should we make it the size of the port the size of an X-wing with the new one? No, let's make it the size of the Millennium Falcon. And they're like, okay, great idea. But yeah, there were some good ones. Like, you know what? How is this my fault? We have a super destroyer or star destroyer here that can blow up a planet. It needs to have an exhaust port. And speaking of which, it has exhaust means out, so it should have pushed the bomb away instead of sucked it down. He's like, and he made it from a 90-degree angle. If you told me we had to worry about space wizards then maybe I would have encountered something, or I would have taken it into account.
Space Wizard.
All could have been saved by putting a grill on top of their exhaust port.
So you know what the moral of the story is?
Mortal of the story.
The moral of the story
Mortal
is?
Kombat
Be a
of the
listen
story.
to her.
Damn it, there's so many titles. I was going to say, don't pre-order Space Wizards.
Don't pre-order Space Wizards, the game.
Why don't we actually title it something that people would be looking for?
Like what?
Force Friday, Star Wars.
Don't pre-order Force Friday.
I'm surprised that we're still recording. I mean,
I'm never surprised.
we signed off
I'm-
like 10 minutes ago,
I'll
didn't
be
we?
completely honest. I'm always surprised when we are recording. Because there's been a number of times where we're not recording. So
Anyways, on that note,
for Sebastian, Ethan, Rich, Mikey, and myself, we will talk to you next week.